What's up, guys? This is Healing Intentions, and I'm your host, Adrian Mehmedi. This podcast is about natural health and wellness, mental health, cannabis, psychedelics, philosophy, and spirituality. Today, my guest is Adam Cantrell, who is an artist, musician, father, and fellow psychonaut. Oh, Giggle Factory. Looks like it started. It's game over. One of my friends at school, Ben, he's the same way. And you know how many times we've had to do presentations, and we both just die laughing. And it's like, we have to stop.
You're trying to give a speech.
We have to stop the presentation, and it's just like really bad. One time the teacher was like, "Are you guys okay?"
You're like, well, we got stoned instead of practiced this, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
Like, we meant to practice it, but we just got high instead. So now we're just laughing about the fact that we're not prepared.
So, I mean, you can get prepared on so many levels. I don't know.
Like I said, like, I don't know what it is with me and, like, funerals. It's like, you're not supposed to laugh here, so of course I'm just like, now I feel like laughing. It's the stupidest shit. I'm like,
yep.
I never laugh at an appropriate time till I'm sitting, or inappropriate time till I'm, like, sitting in a funeral, and I cannot not laugh.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that it's probably just some way of dealing with death or something, like trying to, like, I don't know, not take it seriously, or like trying to your body's like
laughing
it off.
So tell me about your music and art. How did all that get started? What are you up to right now?
Well, I've done art since I was really little, and I've loved music since I was really little. I didn't actually start taking all of that seriously until recently. Like, in my opinion, I probably thought I started taking it more seriously around, like, when I was like 18 or something. At least at that time, I kind of decided that it was my path. I didn't maybe pursue it with the most straightforward, vigor, that I might have now for work. But at that time it was more for me. I was naturally talented, so, like, I don't really consider myself to be a lot better now. I know a lot more technique, but that doesn't really make me a better artist. What makes me a good artist is the way that I see things. So the better that I can express the way I see things, then the better I can do art. So obviously at 33, I'm more skilled than I was at 18. But when I was 18, I could still kick ass. I just, I was more concerned with what experiences can I get in life to make me a better artist at that time. It was like I didn't feel legit. When you really aren't. I mean, at 18, it's like you got 18 years under your belt living in your parents' house. You haven't seen shit. Like, so, like, you're not hard. You're not fucking, you're not hardened by the streets at all in any way. You've seen no city life, no unsheltered anything, especially living where we grew up. So, it's like, I kind of didn't feel like a legitimate artist until I fucked my life up a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, where we grew up, our neighborhood, we lived in the same neighborhood. It was literally surrounded by farms, and there was not a whole lot going on, for quite a big radius there. And so, it's a different environment. And then when I moved to the city for college, for DePaul at 18, it was like, whoa. There's more than 2 black people in 5 mile radius.
It's a little better now here, but not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
I some families move down here from other bad areas to try to get somewhere nice, but in general it's still very, like, not colorful here.
Not too diverse.
And that's why I'm not super jazzed about raising my kids here, but I guess it's up to me to expose them to diversity.
Right.
But yeah, I just think, regardless, I can't obviously, like, they're going to experience growing up just like us in a place where like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's fucking cornfields everywhere.
We literally would have field parties in the cornfields.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Then you want to talk about like me, like my type of mindset,
Right.
and how, I don't know, some people are just the way they are. It's like I'm just the way I am. Like back then when I was 18, instead of living in my parents' house, I decided I'm gonna go to fucking, like, where did I go to, like, what's the sporting goods store?
Dick's.
Dick's. Yeah, I go down to Dick's when they got a sale with, like, I don't even know what money I got, but, you know, like, not much. And I blew all my money on, like, camping supplies so that I could go live out in the forest at, like, the place that we used to go party at. I was like,
Oh, that's
I just
right.
remember being out there and realizing, like, hey, nobody ever comes back here. And it's got like a driveway, and there's a really good spot in the woods there, and I was just like, I'm just gonna live here. And everyone was like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Like, what in the world are you thinking? Like,
You did that at 18?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that so yeah, so I did that for a minute, and then things kind of panned out where, you know, friends of ours ended up, like, inheriting or buying a house, and then it was like, why are you living in the fucking woods? You know, there's a house here. So that's kind of, you know, but yeah, I always was kind of thinking, like, back then I was really into, like, Jack Kerouac and stuff. So I was on this, like, Dharma Bums fucking thing where, like, I'm just gonna go fucking rough it. And, you know,
Yeah.
I craved so badly to have legitimate experience, so bad. Like, you know, there's nothing going on in little subdivisions
Right.
out in the country. Like, you just, it's like, what do I even talk about? So I just, like, wanted to force myself into
That's great, man. You force
something.
yourself into nature. I mean, what better place to force yourself into? You know, that's wonderful. I went into the concrete jungle of downtown Chicago. Like, what?
Yeah,
what a difference.
I did that too. you
Yeah,
know?
and you did.
And then how old was I then? I was like, I think I was 21 then. Yeah, I did that too. And man, talk about some good times.
Right. What was that Mexican place by the place where you lived at?
Oh gosh, I still eat there. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I don't know if it's just, yeah, like, people are like, really, you eat there? I'm like, yeah, it's the nostalgia and stuff. I eat there just because I love the place.
Hell yeah. We
Dos
gotta go there.
Dos Amigos.
Dos Amigos, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Dos Amigos. I've seen several ones, not even just Chicago, but yeah,
It wasn't
that Dos Amigos.
Tres Amigos or Dos, huh?
It's Dos.
Okay.
It's actually
Just two Amigos.
It's actually two Amigos.
Okay.
It's not. Well, I mean, on the sign it says two Amigos.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. God, now you're making me hungry. Like, just smoked a joint.
Yeah.
Now I'm imagining a al pastor torta.
Ooh.
Some sour cream. Oh gosh.
Chips and salsa, guacamole. Ooh.
Anything. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about what you got going on now, creatively, artistically, like your brand. Like, what? Tell me about that.
Well, recently I started a website to sell my art, prints, and apparel, and really whatever I come up with, just so I can start getting this stuff out there.
What's that
And
website?
That's ILLIODD.com. That's ILLIODD. And that's also the handle for Instagram. And that's pretty much just what I've been going under now. It's something I committed to for my art, and I think for my music as well. So
Cool. What's ILLIODD? Where do you get that?
So that comes from, I mean, first off, it's kind of just a combination of, like, ill and odd. You know, it's, dope, weird shit. So it's also, has the layer of me being from Illinois. You got the illy, and then there's the tie. I guess the biggest tie, because it's kind of a weird word. It's like, where does that word come from? So the root of that was the Iliad, epic poem. So
The Greek. Yep.
So
cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
what kind of music do you play? Like, what are you into? What's your, like, what genres? I know you don't want to put yourself in a box, but
that's something that I guess is yet to be determined in the eyes of the world. You know, and in my own time, I have really dabbled in not every single style, because there are thousands of musical styles and many that I've never even heard all over the world. But I have really tried to delve into a lot of ethnic style, just any world music, older music, or psychedelia, anything from the 50s to now, and any genre within that too. Because just as a music producer, I think you seek out sounds, like first off, when you get into it, you start seeking out sounds like from that you appeal to you in the now, maybe, you hearing stuff right now that you're liking, and you're like, how does that happen? How are they making that synth sound, or whatever it is that you really like about the music? You're like, how can I achieve that effect that this, if it gives you goosebumps, it's like, how do I put the goosebumps on somebody, like, intentionally? Like, how do I take that and do it? Like, so you start to, I guess, gain up a bag of tools from your influences, like the stuff that gives you goosebumps or whatever. You're like, I want to be able to do things like that. So you start to become that, like a ball of all those, and you're your own version. So
I love that. Yeah.
So that's kind of where it begins, I guess.
That's great. Starting from Kanye Titta.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, not starting there, but
right.
Talk about someone who like had a major influence on me, like Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Wow. I was talking today to somebody about that. Just about how, like, so many of almost all of my role models, or at least the most influential role models to me growing up, were black. Which is also really weird where we're coming from. I think it's like, it's maybe not uncommon, but it's incongruous with the life out here. Yeah. And it doesn't quite fit in with a lot of people's mindsets.
That's true.
And it didn't fit in with my family's mindset growing up either. I think they wondered, like, how in the hell is this happening? Like, well, how is this happening? I didn't, like, because it didn't come from them. Like, why? I had a love for rap. Yeah. A really big love for rap from literally probably like 4 years old or something. Wow. Like, the first music that, like, I mean, I loved all music when I remember like liking Rolling Stones and a lot of, the hair metal crap that my mom and, whatever we're listening to at the time, or friends.
The 80s.
Yeah. And that was like not against that, but the most impactful early music to me was rap. And it was like all this pop stuff. It was like Criss Cross, MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice. It was like stuff that, I just loved rapping, and that developed into like, I always tell, like, like my mom just never knew that I was like listening to the stories of like inner city black men as a 7-year-old, and like really relating to it. And I just, like, if I say that to her, she's like, but I don't understand. And I'm just like, that's, it's like, that's just what I was into. I agree. I don't know if it was just the culture, but like all this dangerous stuff at that time was like appealing to me. Yeah. Once again, like seeking experience in a bland setting,
Totally. Same. I mean, my parents are probably wondering, why is our 16-year-old son bumping subwoofers?
Yeah. Oh man. So yes. Let's we can go there for just a second. We don't need to get into like, too much past stuff. Right. But yeah, we used to ride to school every morning together in your Galant.
Mitsubishi
this tiny little Galant. And the system in that thing was so powerful, man.
Yeah. I upgraded quite a bit. My first job ever was at MCI selling, telemarketing, selling long distance and local telephone service.
Yeah.
And
We both have that in common. We both worked at call centers. Yay.
But I was crushing it back then when I was 16, making good money, like $9.50 an hour plus commission. So I would take those checks and just buy system for my Galant.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I have a history, like now I'm like realizing I have a history of friends with massive, like subwoofers in their car. Like,
that's amazing.
It's like, that's just another one of those, like, white kids appropriating urban culture. But like, we would bump all kinds of music on it, obviously. But there was just constantly bass going on back then.
Yeah.
Surprised, like, it's like,
I said that for a while for myself. Like, I don't know what it is, but I really relate to like the most ghetto rap music there is. It's like the more ghetto, the more bass, the better. And it's like, I'm like the most white kid that there is. I don't know what that's about.
It's probably just some kind of balance. Like you need to taste the raw truth of reality or something, some way or another. Like, not that you're not experiencing your own raw truth of reality, but like I said, kind of there's some dangerous edge to, really putting it out there.
Yep.
Like earlier, Justice, when I was talking to him, was like, said something about like, once you make a song like some of Eminem's earlier stuff, you can't really go back,
Right.
You make those kind of statements like that's what's up. Now it's time. Like, you're all in. And that's actually been a huge concern to me over time, is like people don't understand, they're like, where's your music? And blah. It's like, you have to be really sure of what you want to say and how you want to be perceived, or what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
So, taking a little bit of time to get that right is no problem at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you make statements like, bitch, I'm gonna kill you. It's like people know you're here to fucking stay, man. It's like
yeah.
So it's about, you're either you're either serious or you're don't bother.
You're either in the game or you're on the sidelines.
Yeah. In this case, it's just like all that stuff's appealing to me. It's being truthful. It's like putting, instead of sugarcoating everything, it's getting into stuff that is unique and we can all relate to in different ways.
Yep. What's your vision for your projects that you're working on right now?
Well, I guess we can kind of pick up on some, like earlier where I was, is like with so many genres, it was always really hard for me to decide, which avenue I want to go. And I guess over time, something that stayed consistent is obviously the rapping. I didn't ever really used to take I didn't really seriously start rapping probably until, I don't know when it really ever happened. I had such a brain for it. It was like a computer for rap. I like never did it out loud though. But when I started doing it out loud on recording, it opened up that new place. And it took me a couple years to start developing this craft. And I'm actively in it right now. And it's, it's like, that's become a constant in my music. I think most of the time there's at least pretty fast rhythmic singing. It's like no matter what it is, there's always going to be a component with me of melody and complex rhythm. That's just kind of what I think draws me to music. Is I'm never satisfied with just a straight beat. Like I want it divided every way it can be divided. Wow. And I want to do that with words and syllables. That's how it goes. You're doing it with not with words. You're actually doing it with syllables.
Yep.
So it's just a certain skill that it's a muscle you flex. You develop it and you keep writing, freestyling. It's not easy to do, really. It really takes all of you, like totally. to put yourself into this zone where you're where you're willing to speak off the cuff, and you have to think about it as quickly as possible because you're placing it into a spot, you know. So it's tough, and it just takes a long time to develop, and that's where I'm at with that. But when you talk about the musical coloring behind that, at this point I'm pretty much open to anything, and I think that I've instead of like I used to be, which is I think I didn't mention before, but like before I got to ILLIODD, I went through probably like 50 different aliases. Like I never could really find, like I liked things for a time, but then I would get sick of it, or I felt like it wasn't definitive enough of me, or whatever it may have been. So I think, you know, it took me a long time to feel confident and comfortable with just being like, okay, this is it. And like now I'm kind of just cool with that. Instead of doing 100 different projects all with it, and this is how I used to think. This is like, and this is so hard for me not to be like this now because I'm such a perfectionist. Like my idea, you know, my ideas can just get so meticulous, which is how I kind of like to work, but they can get so meticulous that I want to like name each project a different thing with a different artist, and you know, all this different artwork aesthetic, and that's all good and well, but it's too much for one person to do by themselves. So I've just decided really to bring it all under one banner. So musically now it's like it's anything, you know, it's a grab bag. It's like I could do something that's very heavy. It could be like, you know, metal or something like that. And then I could do something that's extremely poppy too.
What was the first instrument you ever learned how to play?
The first instrument that I took seriously as like I'm playing an instrument and actually like took lessons was guitar in 7th grade. And before that, I just played piano a lot at both of my grandmas had these Wurlitzer organs. Oh. My one grandma had a player piano, and I loved that. I just thought that was awesome that it would play without anybody touching it. Like that mesmerized me as a kid. And I used to always play like have you ever played those pianos? Or the organs, the old organs where like you push one button and it plays like a beat or something?
Not really, no.
Oh, well,
I've seen them.
Yeah, so it's like they're just really cool. Like they had these like these auto chord thing going on where like if you hit a chord, it would like had a whole like chorus of sounds that would come up, and like kind of like a musical accompaniment or a beat, you know, behind you. But I would play with that honestly, like now looking back at it and even talking right now, I'm realizing like for me, this was the early version of like having a sampler playing a beat, because like there was my grandma on my dad's side had an organ as well, and hers had, I think what is called like, I wish I could remember. I think it's called a rhythmatic. It's a little box that was on the side of it, and it was like a little drum machine, and you could speed it up and slow it down and stuff. And it had like 5 beats, like bossa nova, Latin. I think like maybe like country or rock or 2-step or something on there, but it just would like add a beat that you could push a button and it would be like, and you could play along with it.
That's cool.
And then you could change all the sounds by hitting little knobs and turning stuff. Like that's pretty much what I do now.
Right.
Like, I was doing it back then. I do it now.
How old are you back then?
Very little.
That's amazing.
Pretty much from whenever as early as I can remember. Just I would like climb. They would be like, "Please stop!" You know, I would play like the same chords. I would just like I would hold on a chord and just sit there and it'd be like blaring, and I would love it. And they'd be like, "Okay, can you please stop?"
That's awesome. So I'm just curious too. After guitar, then what? Because I remember you playing guitar in the band with all the guys back in high school and Incubus.
I was in a couple. Yeah, I was in a couple bands.
Blink-182
all these covers. All that stuff. That's where I kind of learned a lot about music and dynamics of playing with others and trying to control a live sound. You know, that's kind of where it really all started for me. Is like I knew I I never it didn't meet up where I actually believed in my talent till much later, but on one layer I knew that I had a lot of talent. On another layer, it's just very hard to be like doing a band thing in high school and all the other stuff you're trying to balance. So it was an important learning experience over the years, just playing music, with friends and all that. I mean, all through pretty much, yeah. As soon as, like I said, when I turned 18, I was all in on like, I'm an artist, do or die. Basically, it's like,
that's great.
Get rich or die trying.
I love it. 50 Cent.
Yeah, we used to listen to fucking. You shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house, and if you got a glass jaw, you should watch your mouth.
Yeah,
because I'll break your face.
What about Justin Timberlake, Cry Me a River?
Oh shit, dude! I was just talking about that the other day. I was like, man, you don't even know how many times I bumped that song.
Oh yeah,
we would play. Oh yeah, Ludacris and
Trina,
Sierra, or
be
Trina,
alright.
Sierra, yeah, Ludacris and Trina, Be Alright, man. That was our jam, dude.
Oh, what a great song!
That thing bumps on a system too. That's the thing. Like we had some tracks that just bumped on system, but
totally.
we would be rocking like Kanye's workout plan and shit.
Yeah, Through the Wire.
Through the Wire. We just played that shit out. We played like Through the Wire.
Family Business. I remember Family Business.
Oh, dude, I think our favorite track was Never Let Me Down.
Yep.
Right?
With Jay-Z. Yep.
Oh yeah, that was it right there, and that's still it. And Get 'Em High, dude. Come on, man. What an album! Come on,
College
Kanye. Jeez, what an album! What an album, for real. Like
really,
I'm just talking about Get 'Em High and Never Let Me Down is just so many things. So many things.
Yep.
So your motherfucking hands.
So after learning guitar and you're in a band playing guitar, then what instruments did you learn? I want to know the progression. I'm curious, just for myself, even.
Wait, what? Sorry.
So after guitar, after you learn guitar and were in a band, what was the progression then of instruments?
Oh well, yeah. So this is my favorite part. Drums. Drums are I love drums.
They're your favorite, huh?
I
love that.
Well, yeah, and we can go back to origins of that too, because this is all coming back. It's good we smoke some weed because it's like bringing a lot of this stuff back, right?
Yeah, it does.
I used to like click my teeth together and stuff when I was young, like just stuff like that. On like I would be rhythmically. I would do it just like when I was like bored and shit. But I was also always just making noises, tapping on
with
shit,
hands,
whatever it be, with all my fingers and making complex types of rhythms. Even then, like triplet stuff has always been my thing. Just triplets are interesting to me, and it's something that I think was always just maybe kind of natural to me, or just kind of it was something I always saw in music and kind of was drawn to. So. But yeah, cool. Percussion, man.
And then that naturally leads into...
I got a drum set and started just wailing on it, yeah.
Right. Drums naturally leads into digital production, obviously, and drum pads. And
then you want to... Yeah, then you're just like, can I make these sound... Yeah, then you hear, Skrillex gets really big, and you're like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Skrillex.
Fucking dubstep...
Dubstep is the heavy metal of EDM, and I think that's why
good Lord, it took the world by storm. But like you go back, just the music back then was just killer, dude. Like there's a lot of really good stuff.
I'll never forget seeing Skrillex live at New Year's Eve in Rosemont there, and that was just insane.
Yeah.
There
was an energy about the whole world of electronic music at that time that was something else, man.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of stuff that's great right now too, but man,
that
was a time that really set off the trajectory of what's going on right now.
Yeah. And it's really interesting,
of course we can't. Yeah, it's like, but what about our origins of like 92.5 when that was around, and just getting into
Wait, was that the EDM station?
It wasn't EDM back then. It was like tech. It was like, people still called it stuff like techno, or
yeah.
like House, Daft Punk, and obviously that's a really mainstream example at this point. But I had never heard Daft Punk at that time, and living where we did, that station, which was like a Naperville station, right?
I think.
Yeah. We caught that station, and it was like exposing us to that stuff, and I got really obsessed with that music back then too.
Totally. And I stayed obsessed with it, and then EDC Chicago happened in 2013, and I went to that, and that just blew my mind open. That was the first time I ever did MDMA, Molly, whatever you want to call it. And that it's so funny, it all comes back full circle. I just watched this webinar with this psychiatrist in the UK, in London, and he was one of the guys that's done the most research with psychedelics starting like back in the 90s. He's the one that picked it back up after the research they did in the 50s and 60s in psychiatry, psychedelics, and then it all stopped in 1971 with Nixon and the Controlled Substances Act, and made cannabis Schedule 1 and all these other LSD, and just like it's just crazy. But in this webinar, they were talking about how they're using MDMA for therapy for PTSD, because it's so effective at lowering your fear, but then it increases your empathy. So you're able to like open up and talk about your issues and what happened to you and the traumas and things without being overwhelmed by the bad emotion. And that's really powerful in therapy. So, and he talked about how it's a pretty safe substance because people have been doing this since the 80s, nonstop every weekend. There's not that much public health of an issue with this, really. It's just the whole drug war of, don't do drugs, they're illegal, they're bad. It's like, I'm a lot more of a fan of harm reduction over prohibition, because adults are going to do what they want to do, So it's about education and safety and testing the stuff, making sure it's good. But I always say, if everybody could take MDMA and go to an outdoor music festival, what a different world it would be.
Well, the people that have done it probably can attest to that. I mean, it can get a bit crazy out there in the trenches, but it's always something that you come out of there being like, oh yeah. I was just talking about this last night. I was like, I don't know, North Coast a couple years ago was
Yeah. I wasn't there, but
just killer, man.
Tipper.
Yeah, don't even get started on that. That's just one of the many great things about that. But Tipper was something else, man. Talking about things that totally open your world up, change, like you see it once and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna do things this way. Like that was one of those things. Like the way that Tipper lays it down made me go back to the drawing boards and be like, all right, I need to go harder,
That's great.
And for me, it's like I do try to juggle a lot of things, I on top of the music and the art, which we haven't even really got into much yet. I'm very into animation. Is kind of like what I really want to be doing. Like, so I'm trying to like segue in there quick. And as you know, like I also want to take my music and my live show to this kind of like level where I can do some sort of stage show that's music, but has more.
Like a Cirque du Soleil, but better.
Yeah, the Blue Man Group, like a stage show, but I don't know. I have really big visions, and I
like that.
It can get a little crazy at times, but it's like you see something, like I said, like you see like Tipper, and you're just Tipper. You're like, there's no reason to rush. You're like, I just got to be good like that. And like,
right.
And you don't got to be like that. You just, I like to just kind of take, I mean, he's not obviously the only person that's flipped my mind in the last few years, but that's a good example of something that, I mean, it still sticks with me. Like, I still study his music a bit, and like, I'm still kind of scratching my head over a lot of stuff, and it's fun. Like, it keeps you as a artist. It's like, I don't know if I'd call it, when it's music, I don't necessarily if I'd call it competition, but
right.
You know, it's like,
what else is
it's
out
a little
there?
friendly you know, it's not like you're competing with, you know, the people that you like, you know, you're listening to, by trying to go after sounds that they're getting, but you're kind of inspired to like dig deeper into the whole world of all of it, into like music philosophy or whatever it is, the inner workings of all of it. It's like, if you really love music, do you love music, or do you love attention? You know,
Ooh.
do you want a bunch of people screaming your name? Well, you know why, and what do you plan on giving them? You know, like that big question mark that you leave with after a Tipper show, you know, where your mind's been blown, and you know, you're just like the grooves and shit. You know, you're grooving hard as fuck, and then you know the sounds are just like watery and have a whole organic texture to them, and you know, you just go and you're like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, I've got some firepower to go make my music with, you know, from a different way. You know, music's like anything else. You know, you can get down a path that gets boring, or you know, you can get in ruts so easily with anything you're doing, if you're not, you know, trying to constantly reinvent yourself. So something like that can be like the right inspiration to kick you into like a new way of thinking about making your music. So that's kind of,
yeah, I love that. That makes sense. What about your art? Tell me about your art. What's your, you know, you told us about the music history. What about the art history of Adam?
Well, my art has always kind of taken on a pretty abstract shape. And I think I started art. Art was kind of the thing growing up that was like where people told me I was good at it. So I always like, you know, it was like a way that I could actually feel good. So and like, you know, this is another thing that I was just talking with our friend Justice about, was like how you kind of like when you're growing up male, or you know, it's probably not just there's female equivalents to this, but growing up male at the time that we did, I feel like sports were very coveted. So, you know, so like even though my strength was in art, I felt that I needed to be cool by being an awesome like basketball player or something. And I just wanted it so bad, like and more black role models, Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, and people that I, you know, I collected so many, you know, cards at that time. Like card collecting was a thing. I
have to go through them right now at my parents' house. My mom was cleaning out a room, and there's a bunch of Michael Jordan and different cards that are just chilling there. I gotta check them out.
Exactly. I got a booklet full of like, I collected specifically Ken Griffey Jr., Allen Iverson, and Kevin Garnett cards. Where I just have booklets of those were like my main kind of like my favorite cards that I kept, and I think it's in my basement. I haven't looked at them in a long time, but yeah. You know,
nice.
I was like trying to be good at sports and shit when I probably should have been like focusing on art and music from a young age, but you know, I wanted to like fit in, and you know.
Same. I feel like that's the reason why I played football in high school. I wasn't really into it.
I forgot that you did.
Yeah, for all 4 years, and I never played before that, and I wasn't really that into it, but I just kind of did it like be part of a team, and it's cool, and you feel cool playing football in high school, and it's a good workout and whatever. But then, you know, and then like the whole watching sports, even I never really enjoyed it. But I did it because that's like what guys do, and that's what guys talk about. And I just like didn't care that much.
And you know what? But you just watched the Bulls documentary, right?
Right.
And the thing about it is like that doesn't change the fact that it was exciting to us.
Right.
And it actually was exhilarating at the time.
Definitely.
I mean, I still remember like the Bulls, like a lot of the Bulls championship stuff. Like
me too, yeah.
And I like videotaped all that crap at the time. And
Yeah.
You know, like I used to videotape like Super Bowl stuff. Like
definitely. I guess more as an adult, I mean that like I was not that into sports, but I felt kind of forced by society almost. Now in the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't watched sports at all, and I don't miss it. I feel like there's freedom.
I guess when you're young, you maybe feel forced, or maybe you just don't feel like it's an option. It's just like part of stuff. Yeah. But now I feel like, you know, so you pick it up or you don't. It's something you like or you don't like it.
Right.
And even more so, there's so many sports out there, and maybe nowadays we have more of a window with the way like TV and all that stuff is now to seeing different sports than just the same
from all over the world.
3 sports, you know, all the time.
Right.
Because we really didn't get much soccer going on growing up. Like probably other countries have tons of soccer on TV and stuff, but we didn't have any.
Yeah, that's pretty much the number one sport around the world.
Yeah, but not here.
No,
and so we have those 3 sports, but it's all business too. You know, it's like at that time there was probably no strong soccer presence monetarily in the U.S. like to compete with the NBA, MLB, and NFL.
Yep. Nice. So, what advice would you give someone that's just starting out in music or in art?
Well, I think, I was on Reddit the other day and I gave somebody advice along the lines of something like, I think they were saying something like, I don't even know why I try, because when I look at really, really good art, I just think like, why even bother? Because I can't do that. And it's like, you really shouldn't focus on stuff like that, because honestly, like a lot of artists, I don't care how big and good you are, most of the recognizable are like, I mean, obviously the greats are the greats, but a lot of the artists that become recognizable because their art is kind of like gimmicky in some way. You know, it's like in order to be recognizable in like that, you almost have to have like a shtick.
Right.
You know, like maybe you have like a color scheme that you do that all, you know, like that's identifiable, whatever it may be. It could be, I mean, I'm having a hard time kind of thinking of a great example right now, but one artist that I love recently, like a painter that I love recently, is like Grant Wood. And I don't know if you're really super familiar with
I don't know
stuff,
Grant Wood, no.
He painted American Gothic. I'm sure you know that one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But his other stuff, a lot, it's just kind of idyllic, interesting, kind of, it's like he views the world from a very particular lens. At least, you know, he portrays it in his art this way. And I don't want to like, I wouldn't want to diminish its quality or try to like say anything negative about it by saying it's sticky or you know, by saying it's gimmicky, but I say those things kind of lovingly, like it's more than just the art, you know, it's some of it's business and marketing, you know.
Right. Branding, yep.
Yeah. So starting out, I would just say don't care about stuff like that, you know. I think like your style just develops in time, but like the most important thing, like, and you have to keep remembering this, because there was times when in the journey of this that I think I just wanted my life to change so bad. Once again, like just reaching for something new to go beyond, that I probably wanted to like jump the gun and make things happen too quickly, and a lot of my learning has been to like kind of chill on all that and like let it happen as it's going to happen and focus on what I really do love, which is like making music and making art. Like I'm interested in brush strokes onto canvas. That's what I like. I don't care about shit else. Like, and it's so easy to get caught up in that, like, and thinking about other stuff, and it's useless.
How much would you say psychedelics throughout your life have played a role in you thinking that way?
Hugely.
Yeah.
It's like fucking sink or swim, baby. Go.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm not a hesitator or an overthinker.
Right.
Or a procrastinator, because I am those things I mean, I'm a pothead. Like I smoke too much weed. Like,
yeah.
But
I feel you there.
But still, it's like, yeah.
Nice.
It comes down to, do you love what you're doing or not? If you don't love doing art, then you shouldn't be. And you know what? This is the thing that I have a hard time explaining to people who, like, family, like, you know, just people that want to see things happen for me quicker and don't understand why I am the way I am, or why I've taken the route I have to develop so many different skills instead of just like trying to get big off of one of them, or make a living career off of doing one.
Yep.
And
you couldn't live with the regret of knowing that if you didn't do it that way and you just stuck with one, if you would have looked back and been like, oh, what if I would have did this? What if I would have tried that? Yeah, you couldn't live with that regret. That's what I think it is for me. I did the same thing. I've done so many different jobs. Yeah. Ever since I was 16, I added it up. I've done 16 different jobs.
Yeah.
And that's insane. And all these different industries, all these different things, randomly selling airplane engine parts to airlines all over the world for 2 years. Like, wow, what?
You you don't really know what it is that you want until you've failed a lot. I think you failed a lot. Failed a lot. Yeah. That's what you got to do to get where you're going.
It's true. That's how you really learn. And, they say fail early and fail often. And it's true. I mean, you almost look to expect that.
You try, I've made, there's only one way that you can learn these things.
Yeah.
You can put your trust in people and have it, and just be like, and learn over a long, long time of being, fucked by them. Like, that you're like, okay, enough. It takes so many times, though, sometimes. With some people, sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
It takes so long to and once you learn it, though, you're like, you can apply that across life. But there's so many things that are like that, where you have to be burned. Like, I think a lot about, like, money is one of those things, like misspending money or rushing into purchases or things like that. You learn a lot over, or buying things that you could have gotten free, or all sorts of weird things that you start to learn as you get older, that you just kind of like weren't efficient.
Right.
That you weren't peak efficiency, and you never will be. But you learn more tricks to stay efficient, I think.
Yep.
No, and that's to tie back into the original question of, like, what do I tell someone starting out, is like, I feel like I'm starting out. It's like, I've been doing this all the time, but I still don't know. I don't want to know really what it is. I want to try and figure it out more. Like, I can tell you all about the stuff I've done and how I understand that, in my own way. But that doesn't make the next piece for me. It doesn't think of a new idea. Like. So sense. It's like, keep on failing, and keep on pushing through, and start loving it.
Exactly.
And start loving the failures, and start loving that you can take it, and that you can be strong in the face of it, and that that feels good to keep persevering for what you want, as that is trying to rebuff you and tell you no, like, this isn't for you. It's like, no, it is.
I love that.
It is, and I'm gonna show you how it is.
Just wait and see. How about this, though? What is your opinion on religion versus spirituality. I would say for me, I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual.
I think I have a complex relationship with the universe.
Mm-hmm. Don't we all?
I think that's like the best way I might be able to sum it up is like I am so, I don't know. Life is interesting, man.
Mm-hmm.
Life is crazy.
Yes.
That's all I gotta say.
As Drake would say, life is amazing. It is what it should be.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I really stand on religion as a definitive thing, and spirituality. I think it's a more broad way to talk about some way that we feel connected to the earth or something.
Right.
You know, that's the thing is
something greater than ourselves.
I'm a very logical person. I think just by nature, that's like how I am, and I'm very into science and things like you know. Whenever we argue about things like conspiracy, I'm very like, I don't like hearsay or any of that. I just want to see like a fact that I can put through the calculator and have it come back true. You know.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And you know,
theories are interesting.
I'm willing to listen to people, but you know, that's one of those things where like I've gone down that road. You know, it's like I haven't been burned by conspiracy, but it's like I've wasted fucking time.
Yeah.
I've wasted a lot of time doing a lot of shit. You know, you waste a lot of time.
For sure. Time is a interesting.
Yeah. You know, that's something you can't learn that without age either.
Right.
You don't know that shit when you're younger. Yeah, I mean, you literally when you're younger, you're like, I'm gonna live forever. You literally fucking feel that way.
Yes.
And in your mind, like people are like, you know, you're gonna die, and like when you're 18 and shit, you're in your mind, you're like, no, I'm not though.
Like it's so far away.
I'm not. You don't understand.
Yes. So. Speedy Gonzalez, Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, Speedy Gonzalez, Sonic the Hedgehog, and the Roadrunner are in a race. Who wins?
Oh gosh. Well, I think that I don't know. That might be easy because I think Sonic has that one in the bag because he's got that like turbocharge up shit going on.
Right.
But you know, Sonic is also dope looking.
He is.
Well, I don't know much about Speedy Gonzalez. It's one of the cartoons that I did not see a ton. I watched a ton of like Looney Tunes and stuff like that, but
right.
I don't know.
The Roadrunner, though, you know.
Yeah, what studio made Speedy Gonzalez is something that I'm gonna have to go look up later because I'm curious and I actually do. Yeah, I mean, we didn't really touch on the fact that like the father part of my life, but having 5 kids.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Having 5 kids, I have a very extensive knowledge of children's shows, movies. Mm-hmm. And all that stuff, and books, and really one of the things that I'm most passionate about, I think, is as I get older, you know, you things kind of change for you a little bit, and you know, when I was younger, I think I'm always going to have this part of me that wants to push the limits into extremity with rap, and you know, a lot of people that I looked up to did that, and I think I'm always going to have that where I'm trying to push an envelope and go past some kind of limit. Mm-hmm. But there's this other side of me that's always been there that's kind of equally there, that is into more universally acceptable things, like a story that can be loved by a child or an elderly person or anybody between, you know, a story that is timeless and you know, you don't have to like shelter your kids from it because it's a little too harsh type of thing. Not that, I mean, I'm not too much into that. I'm trying to like loosen up on the sheltering thing. It's like, I guess, you know, to some extent, but I'm trying to be more like exposing my kids to a little bit and, you know, not like hiding them from every single violent thing in a movie or something that I would watch. Cause it's like, at some point they got to start realizing that things on movies aren't, you know, real. So it's like I can either let them figure it out later, or I can walk them through it myself and be like, you know, see that in Kill Bill there, you know, like that's not a real arm being sliced out. Like when you're just watching like, you know, 6 guys being like, you know, blood just, it's like you guys have to, you know, you can walk your kids through a little bit if you want to.
Right.
You can be like, you understand this is a cartoon. You know, this is a cartoon with human beings, and they're having fun.
Right.
They are.
It's a good way to put it.
They are spraying the room with blood because they can, because this is a movie, and she's getting revenge on all of these basically faceless figures that we don't care if they fucking die. We don't know what they are. You know.
Right.
We're just like experiencing this revenge with her, and it's like, yeah, you tell them that, you know, it's like none of this shit is real. But isn't this cool that people all get together, a bunch of them, and like do that? So I'm trying to go more in that direction. I mean, obviously some of my kids are really little, so not with them, but the older they get, I'm trying to guide them into liking cool shit.
Hell yeah.
And having good taste, and telling them kind of like what that is, so so they can develop their own style and stuff, you know. Tell them how it's done. The streaming service is kind of overtaking the TV service has been kind of a staple for the last couple of years of us. It's like we kind of went that direction, and I think I know like every single thing that they've released on the kids side of like, you know, Netflix and stuff the whole time. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just funny. You start to feel like you have like critiques and stuff. Where it's like, hey, can I tell you how to like make your interface better and you know, stuff like that? You know, when you're using it every day. But it's also like the, you know, to keep my kids interested in material. Obviously, you know, the way I am is with any art is like I start thinking of what would a series be if I were making it. You know, and,
how about like Midnight Gospel, something like that? Yeah,
exactly, right. Yeah, so great. that's a kind of an adultish version of that. But I see. I'm both ways. I think that we do not have nearly enough adult animation. Like there is, I want some animation with like sex or something. You know, like I want animation with things that animation can do that we haven't seen, and show us it. Like go play. Animation can do anything. Yeah. You can literally break the laws of physics and go anywhere with it. And yet, you know, what do we have? Not much. Yeah. If you look out there, when's the last time? I mean, I
like Adult Swim is. I don't even watch. I mean,
I'm like thinking right now of like Waking Life. Do you remember Waking Life? Did you watch Waking Life?
No, I don't think I did.
I like that was one of the. Talk about like influential, man. Oh God, yeah. I was obsessed with that stuff. But looking back on it, you know, that's probably definitely really more a philosophical movie, and maybe not for everybody. But there is not enough adult-ish animation pushing the boundaries of what we can do with it. It's like video games, man. It's like really weird. Like, what video games do you know of that are like really explicit? There's violence is okay, right? But there's like a certain line drawn where like you can't. Like
Grand Theft Auto, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I guess it's weird because it becomes like pornography, but it's like there's places we haven't gone. I think maybe that. I don't know why or what that is, but I hope that we do. Like, I hope there's more of that. But then on the other side of things, I just think I also have a lot of great ideas that are just kind of like kiddie things to help younger people kind of relate and learn to the world. Yeah. You know, in a unique way as well. Right. I'm in both camps.
Totally. That's great. No, I love that. I think there's definitely a need for both, and you're right. I think there will be.
That's like, you don't really, I guess, it's not very common for me to run into other adults that are into animation, so I kind of, especially where I live, so it's something that I kind of feel, that's actually particularly something I feel alone about, is like, you know, we can talk about music, we can talk about art to, you know, some extent, and all sorts of other things, but not many adults are really into animation.
Yeah, not here.
They think it's for kids or something. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be. Right. It's got a lot of potential. And Midnight Gospel kind of is cracking into that a bit. And I mean, it's created by some really talented people, so it makes sense.
I know some people are like, yeah, it was cool, but the animation was even cooler.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the animation is the big show in that.
Yeah.
I believe.
But what they said in it was
what's really cool
awesome
to me is that they made it seamless. Like that. I mean, that's the real magic of it, is that they weaved the conversations together in a way that like kind of it wasn't just a conversation. It like becomes an episode, and there is some kind of narrative there, but it's also a conversation, and they managed to weave the two together in a way that was very seamless, and I loved it.
Yeah.
From what I've seen so far, I haven't gone all the way through it yet because I'm kind of saving it bit by bit. But yeah, I finished me and my kids watched all of Adventure Time.
Cool.
Probably like a few there was a point in time when we're like a very media saturated home. Like there could be like 3 TVs on at once, and like there was a point in time where Adventure Time would be just playing all the time, like all day, every day. Maybe like when the kids were home, like my son was really into it, and I don't know, I'll always enjoy that at any moment if I get a minute. So having that kind of stuff going in the background, I think a lot of people think it's like hectic or something, but have 5 kids and, you get used to that shit real quick.
Right.
And then,
well, it's hectic.
Yeah, right. So, and babies and stuff, it gets hectic no matter what. So
right.
It really, the skill becomes in wrangling that and just kind of mastering it. And yeah, having some cool like art in the background, kind of just there sometimes if it's gonna be there.
Good vibes.
Yeah, no problem with it at all.
I love it.
So yeah, and like that's something like my brother. I was gonna tell him to watch, or he said, "Hey, have you heard of Midnight Gospel?" And I hadn't yet, and I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, that's created by Pendleton Ward, and he made Adventure Time." And I was like, you probably haven't watched it because people kind of think it's like a kid's show, but really it's not. No. I mean, it is, but it's very enjoyable for adults. Adventure Time is. So definitely, if you haven't watched it and you want to watch something fun, like it's great to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I finished it all the way through, and the last episode was my favorite. He's with his mom, and who passed away now, but it's really like deep and just like really awesome. They talk about a lot of stuff. I recommend it for sure. Well, all right, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
We should probably like do this again. Maybe
for sure.
maybe even like tomorrow if you're still in town, because I feel like I like talking, and maybe we could delve into more stuff, because I feel like we didn't even crack the surface necessarily of.
We could go for a 4-hour podcast easily.
We really could, and I mean some of the topics that I kind of had in mind that I wanted to talk about we didn't even touch on, but I would love to hear what you have to say about those. It's some of the more philosophical. So
for sure, man. No, I appreciate this. This was awesome, and we'll definitely chat again. And any last words?
I don't know, man. Keep up the good fight.
Nice. Fuck yeah.